focus. Ideate, innovate, enable. ICAI presents CA Business Leaders 40 Under 40 Season 2 in association with CNBC-TV18. Process partner, CareEdge Ratings.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India presents CA Business Leader Awards 40 Under 40 in association with CNBC-TV18, process partner, CareEdge Ratings. Well, at the core of India's dynamic terrain lies a mosaic of key elements, and among them, the chartered accountancy sector stands prominently. It is undeniable that within the realm of finance, these chartered accountants firms in India emerge as a stalwarts of expertise and guidance. Now, the cornerstone of regulating this impactful chartered accountancy sector stands the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, ICAI, as we all know. The ICAI has had a reputation of celebrating excellence and hard work. The CA Business Leaders Award 40 Under 40 is nothing but a testament of that. And coming back with its second season, these prestigious awards envisions to honor and inspire those who have excelled as CA professionals and have paved the path for transformation of the global economy. I would now like to take this opportunity to invite on stage CA Durgesh Kabra, Chairman, CMIB, ICAI, for his welcome address.
Good evening, one and all. This event is a celebration of remarkable contribution of young and dynamic chartered accountants who are reshaping the accounting profession, the economy of the country, by serving to the corporate world as well as having their own business entity or startups. As we dwell into the heart of this event, I would like to emphasize the core values that underpin the CA Business Leader Awards. It is not just a recognition of accomplishment of these 40 young, talented chartered accountants, but it is a testament of the spirit of the excellence and hard work demonstrated by these 40 young chartered accountants. Friends, with these words, I welcome you and thank you very much.
And ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to invite on stage CA Rohit Ravatia, Vice Chairman, CMIB, ICAI, for his special address.
We are thrilled to bring here the Season 2 of CA Business Leader Awards. Our country is heading towards one of the largest economies in the world, and we believe that in the next 10 years, we will be top 2, top 3 world की largest economies में से होंगे. And I always feel it that yes, किसी भी देश की अर्थव्यवस्था तब तक मजबूत नहीं हो सकती जब तक उस देश का जो प्रोफेशनल है वो उसके पीछे नहीं लगता. और हम जो 4 लाख मेंबर्स हैं इस देश के अंदर, we 4 lakhs members of the profession, members of the institute, and I am happy to share we are the world's largest accounting body in the world. ये इस देश के चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट के सपोर्ट के बिना नहीं हो सकता. This I always say, and the country also believe, the society also believe. Today is a great day for all of us. So मैं इसी बात के साथ अपनी वाणी को विराम दूंगा. आप सब लोगों ने मुझे सुना. आज के इस दिन को एंजॉय करिएगा. मेरी शुभकामनाएं. थैंक यू वेरी मच. जय हिंद, जय भारत, जय एशिया.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, staring into the forefront of global innovation, India has firmly established itself as the 3rd largest startup ecosystem worldwide, boasting an impressive tally of over 1,12,718 DPIIT recognized startups spanning across 763 districts as of October 2023. What makes India's innovation landscape truly exceptional is its breadth, extending far beyond specific sectors. And to further elaborate on this, I would now like all of you to join me in welcoming on stage Mr. Akhil Gupta, Vice Chairman, Bharti Enterprises. And I would also like to invite on stage my colleague Sonal Bhutra from CNBC-TV18 to moderate the conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta, for joining us today. While we are talking about CA being business leaders, and as that comment was mentioned earlier, 6 of the unicorns have CAs as their founders. So definitely governance comes into picture. How do you look at that landscape right now?
I can guarantee these 6 unicorns will be very well governed. That's for sure. But unfortunately, for many others, it's not a very happy situation. We all know the governance standards at many startups are leaving much to be desired. And we really need to correct that.
So where do you think things are lacking right now? You've spearheaded a big organization for such a long time. What do you think can be inculcated when it comes to startups? How important is the stakeholder participation here, not only the founders?
I think the problem with startups is obviously they lack experience in terms of governance and how to handle the big companies and the internal controls. There's no doubt about that. But the biggest problem I find today is the investors. I think the investors somehow blindly want them to grow, who actually do not give too much of credit to the governance piece. And that's what they should.
The quick money paradigm, or they want immediate returns or just immediate execution seems to be a problem.
I think they feel that the valuations can only come from growth and hyper growth and very quick growth. But ultimately, growth without governance is not sustainable.
What are some of the practices that you think will ensure growth which is sustainable for a startup?
I'll tell you something which we followed very diligently. And so we started way back in 2002 in our company, the system of quarterly full audits. I think that is one step which would ensure very good governance.
What would your advice to the startup founders who are maybe starting right now, or those who are on that journey to become a unicorn be?
I think my only advice to them would be that, when businesses are growing, it's not unusual to have losses. You do have losses. So don't be afraid of losses, but just don't try to hide them. If you do that, I think you'll do a better business, because once you know the truth and you show the truth, you will correct that situation very quickly.
There's no alternative to truth, right?
Yeah,
so is the startup ecosystem still looking very attractive? Is that something that you are looking at, or generally investors are looking at as well? What is your take here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the startup ecosystem has become so strong in India, and it's got a great future. So this needs to be encouraged.
Mr. Gupta, it was such a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for joining us with
Thank
all
you.
your insights, and honest insights, actually. Thank you so much.
Well, the nation has accelerated its journey towards becoming a $26 trillion economy by 2047, which would establish its position as the third largest economy globally. This vision, however, is not just limited to a mere financial perspective. India's dream of Amrit Kal is one that is wholesome, characterized by an economy that is not just progressive, but also sustainable, inclusive, and technologically sufficient. The G20 declaration this year has been a milestone in this path, particularly when it comes to establishing India's position as a possible voice for the global south. And to reinstate this and further analyze the path towards achieving economic prowess, I would request Sonal to once again come back on stage to moderate the session.
Let me start with you, because we've been talking about India overtaking China in terms of population. Definitely it comes with a lot of responsibilities, and one of the biggest one is energy security here. How do you think the transition that India is talking about, majorly it's by 2070, but renewable has been a big focus. What is your take here? Are we on track? Are we exceeding those targets, or do we need to do more?
Energy demand has a very strong correlation with the GDP. And as a result, we are possibly seeing every year 7 to 9% growth in the demand of energy. And of course, even now, when we look at our mix of energy supplies, predominantly is still coming from the fossil fuel. India is working on its clean and green mission. Good part is, I think, over the last 2-3 years, with all the push that has come from Ministry of Power, MENRE, we have seen the installed capacity going up to 179 gigawatt as we speak now. government have announced a very, very ambitious target of reaching 500 gigawatt by 2030. To attend this mission of 500 gigawatt, a couple of things have to be there. India never had its own cells and manufacturing facilities. India is now putting up a lot of cells and module facilities. Government have announced PLI. As we speak, almost 60 gigawatts of cells and modules are in the pipeline. Tata Power ourselves, we have just commissioned about 10 gigawatts of cells and modules. So good part is a part of that self-reliance will come in. So hopefully, a lot of this capacities which are required will be served through domestic productions of cells and modules. Now, for the renewable energy to replace fossil, it's important that the renewable energy can be seen as a continuous supply source of power. And in order to do that, it's very critical that you have storage facilities in India. So with the storages coming in, hopefully in the next 3 years, you will see a lot of such supplies happening, which is 24/7. As a result, there will be a lot of confidence in the industry to switch completely to green, which is not possible now. So yes, I think green and clean energy will become big as we keep on moving forward. So I think most of the ministries are working towards that, and I feel that we see a momentum every quarter, and we are progressing in the right path.
Okay, so more power to the power sector in that case. Ms. Murkute, let me come to you, because we have spoken about the big targets that we have in 2047, but it would also require to restructure the fragments of the Indian economy in a lot of ways. What are the sectors do you think we should be focusing on in order to ensure that the G20 targets that we had put out, COP28 targets that India has put out, we are able to achieve that in time by 2047?
In terms of sectors, typically what we should be following. Now, if we see in the last 5 years and a decade or so, there has been a good amount of focus anyways on infra. And infra having a multiplier effect on GDP at close to 2.5 times. So that's definitely going to remain the mainstay. And those are the sectors which also generate a lot of employment generation. So when you're looking at, increasing the entire GDP growth, achieving a target which we have set a tall order of $26 trillion economy by 2047, we should be clearly harnessing the entire capabilities that we have. One, in terms of innovation quotient, so be it healthcare, be it IT, we have a huge skilled workforce that is already available with India. So that is one key area that we should be focusing on. Secondly, in terms of all of the subsegments of infra, be it logistics, be it construction, the base construction, textile, auto, you name anything. And a vast amount of opportunities are also building up in each of them. So at the same time, we should be also mindful to have that these sectors also provide for the sustainable growth and an inclusive growth, having more representation from micro markets, gender profile also kind of gets addressed. So once we're able to attract talent, harness them, we are definitely going to continue building on our strengths. And that, in a nutshell, would allow us to achieve the GDP growth that we have.
Okay, so the GDP growth, for that we need tax growth as well. Mr. Mitra, because in G20, there have been a lot of conversation around taxing the digital economy. We have spoken about global minimum corporate tax. How important are these reforms in order to meet the targets that we have in terms of growth?
You know, now our tax to GDP ratio is not very high. It might be about 12%. So you see, it has to be increased. For example, in Spain, Portugal, they might have it more than 30% tax to GDP ratio. So see, that I'm sure, requires enhancement, but she was talking about technology. I think with technology coming in, even now, for example, we have this faceless assessment taking place. We have an annual information statement taking place. With the technology coming in, everything is getting more and more transparent. And with this transparency coming in, I believe that the tax that is there, the tax revenue that the government has will certainly increase. Not only the direct tax revenue, also the indirect tax revenue by way of GST. And whatever they have spoken in the G20, I think those targets will be met.
ICAI presents CA Business Leaders 40 Under 40 Season 2 in association with CNBC-TV18. Process partner, Care Edge Ratings. ICAI presents CA Business Leaders 40 Under 40 Season 2 in association with CNBC-TV18. Process partner, Care Edge Ratings.
So let me come to you for that next question, Mr. Patki, because insurance for all is one of the other targets that we have put out, IRDAI, that is. How important will technology be in that case, and what are the challenges in reaching that particular target?
You know, this Amrit Kal, the theme of this panel discussion and theme across, it really excites everyone, right? Because I think the time that India is seeing now is among the best, and you know, we are kind of cruising ahead for next 25 years to reach 100. What does it mean to be insurance for all by 2047? And I'm excited not because I'm only from the part of the industry, but I have worked in economies where everybody is insured to the level that they just stop worrying and start living. And you know, I'm really happy that the government has taken up this initiative. We've got a very kind of dynamic regulator now who has kind of given us, you know, enablers over the past couple of years to make sure that, you know, we really achieve it. I think it's basically for us as an industry to achieve. Now, what are the issues? You know, I would initially say there are more enablers than issues. But if I have to really talk about issues, one essentially is that insurance in India is still a push product. It is sold, not bought. So it's essentially about creating that awareness. We are actually assigned one state each to make sure that the awareness goes up. So I think it's a big challenge and big opportunity for us. And we're working towards it.
Okay, that's very helpful and very interesting that insurance is actually a push product till now in India, and we need to work on that. Well, Mr. Shah, I'm coming to you towards the end. Also a reason because we can make different products, but we need logistics for them to reach the end point, right? So when we are talking about the 2047 targets, how can an efficient logistics sector help there? What are some of the parameters that you are looking at that would enable our 2047 goals when it comes to the logistics space?
Let's understand one important thing is that if India were to grow and have the aspiration to be a manufacturing hub, which it is planning to have, and also it addresses a lot of our long-term concerns on employment and being a power in the world economic arena. There, in my view, is an efficient logistics is extremely important. It connects all the dots because the average cost of logistics currently is close to 12 to 14% in India. Of course, we don't have exact numbers because there's a lot of, the sector is not fully formal, but close to 12 to 14%. But if you go average to a large developed economy, the average cost of logistics ends up somewhere between 7 to 9. So that leads us into a lot of not being efficient and being uncompetitive. Being uncompetitive leads us into a situation where we cannot grow the manufacturing hub over here. I mean, it's very, very difficult. So logistics has to come of age. It has to come down in terms of cost, and it has to go up in terms of efficiency. And how does that really happen? There are various things. Another thing which, so there are two parts to it. One is the infra part, and the other is the regulation part. There are two parts to the entire logistics space. As far as the infrastructure is concerned, there has been extremely, I'm pleased to see a lot of development happening. So I think there's a lot of investment and recognition of the infrastructure to go up. And I think by a decade or so, I think we should be in a very comparable position as compared to very other large players like most of the Western countries and China, of course. The other is the ease of doing business, which is the regulatory, the environment that we are in. There also, I think we are seeing a lot of things. The GST unfolded the entire thing in terms of ease of doing business locally. So, the whole boundaries in terms of the local octroys, state regulated taxes actually completely were subsumed under GST. So that led to much ease of doing business, free flow of cargo, enabling large warehouses and capabilities to be more efficient was unleashed, and it's working well. And I think I was just discussing this with another CFO board, and I think GST is one of the best programs that we've had, and it's taking shape very well.
Mr. Mitra, let me come to you because tax, definitely, we have basically concluded that we need money to do anything that we need to do. In that case, what do you think government's focus should be in the next budget? What are some of the tax reforms that you think they should focus on?
The finance minister has been already speaking that the taxation has to be intelligent, taxation has to be inclusive, and taxation has to be innovative. See, at the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, what we do is this: we interact with the government to see that the greatest amount of tax collection is done, and there is the least amount of leakage in the taxation structure. What they are now doing is, first of all, they are pushing all business transactions towards non-cash.
Right.
That is what they're doing. They're saying that, look, you go for non-cash transactions, you have that much less, investigation from our side. So that is number one that they're doing. Number two, see, what they're trying to do is to what extent we are going to make it inclusive. That is, can we enhance the tax net? Now, you see, all this time, it was very difficult for them to enhance the tax net without the help of technology. So as I said, technology they're using to the greatest possible extent to enhance the tax net. Now the government is very happy with its GST collections. Right. In fact, it is better than the expectations that they had. So they are saying that, look, GST collections is good. And what they're doing is, when I said intelligent, they are now, earlier, you see, all these high net worth individuals, everybody, they will go after them and go for the scrutiny. Now the government is saying that, look, we will only go for scrutiny only in selected cases. Others, we shall leave. So what they're doing is, because of the technology, they're only being selective in the scrutiny cases that they're doing. And let me also tell you, to enhance the collections, they are reducing the corruption. For example, now you have, as I was said, faceless assessment. For example, you are being assessed. You won't even know who is your income tax officer. Earlier times, you would know that Mr. X is my income tax officer. So now, the income tax, you are sitting in Mumbai, the income tax officer could be somewhere in Guwahati, sitting there, and you won't even know. So, you see, these are the changes that they have brought in, and we hope that with this kind of changes being brought in, the tax collection will increase. So that is, the hope, and we are sure that that's what is going to happen.
It was such an insightful discussion. We spoke about a lot of things, and it truly made for a great evening. So thanks a lot for joining us today. Thank you.
ICAI presents CA Business Leaders 40 Under 40 Season 2 in association with CNBC-TV18. Process partner, Care Edge Ratings. Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.